It's not that highly successful and wealthy people don't experience fear. They do. I do. It's that we take a moment to process and analyze that fear and put it in its proper perspective so that we don't allow fear to control us, fear to dictate what we get and our outcomes in our lives. We take control of it and manage it and put ourselves in the driver's seat instead of letting our ego and fear running the show. Because when that happens, all of your dreams will be put on hold and the likelihood of them happening is next to zero. I'm going to teach you all the rich people's best kept secrets today when it comes to fear in this brand new series. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multi-millionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, coming to you live from my bed. Yep, you're getting a real intimate look at the behind the scenes of the Project Me with Tiffany Carter podcast today. This is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. This new series, Rich People's Best Kept Secrets, came to me after a video of mine went viral on the old TikTok, which you need to be following me over there, and on Instagram at Project Me with Tiffany. And of course, on Project Me TV on YouTube, you can watch the show and actually see the shit show behind the scenes here and all the different random locations that I record from on any given episode. And the outfits, because they can get really... There's everything from a robe to, wow, Tiffany needs to bathe, to me being all glammed up. It is quite the variety with all the different personalities that I apparently have. So I came up with this idea. Once that episode went viral, I went, oh my God, why didn't I think of this sooner? It's often the best ideas, the most successful ideas, the most money generating ideas are typically the most simple. And they're the ones where we go, why didn't I think of that? Haven't you bought a product before? And you're like, God, that's genius. Why didn't I think of that? Because it's so simple and our minds want to make it to where a good idea, a profitable idea, an amazing business, something that really changes lives has to be complex, has to be so far out there, has to be so involved, has to be so hard. And that's why if we are not managing and reprogramming this money mindset stuff of ours, it's so costly. Because if you continue to think that way, you will be blocking the abundance. And so one of the questions I recently started to ask myself is, how can I simplify this more for people? What would be the simple version of this? How can we go back to stage one of this or step one? And I went, oh my God, that is what I would have wanted to know. I mean, when I would interview, when I was a TV newscaster and I would interview, I've interviewed a president before, celebrities, really successful business people, authors, you name it. I would be like, what is it that they are doing? Like they must hold some kind of a secret because it seems so far away when you're not there. And I mean, I was making $17,000 a year, so I really wasn't there. But even as I started to gain more wealth and make more money, there's people, I mean, look at Jeff Bezos. I mean, he's like, multi-billionaire. There's these people who have so much wealth or so much notoriety, fame, influence. And it seems just mind-boggling. And our brains can easily go, that's just a fluke. They just got lucky. They knew someone. And in some cases, some of these people do, right? They were raised by celebrities or whatever. But it's not a fluke when there's that many people. I mean, there's way too many examples of people who started businesses from their kitchen, who started as a side hustle. I'm one of these people. I started my business as a side hustle when I was in the corporate world, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And then I started this podcast and this business, basically side hustling from my other company. We don't know what we're doing until we've done it. The fast track is having a teacher and having someone who you trust, who you can learn from, who you can absorb the information from, who you feel you can relate to in some way, where it's like, okay, I believe that it's possible for me because it's possible for Tiffany. It's like, she doesn't have it all together. She doesn't have this Ivy League education. She's scrapped it together. She's not on the rich husband program life. That life, who's my rich husband? Me. I'm my own rich husband. How about that? Wow. This look is getting really, really attractive here on the old YouTube. You've really got to go see it. It's quite entertaining. And that link is in the show notes as well. Do not forget, because it's ending soon, where you can get my Work Less While Making More guided workbook course for free. I'll be selling it soon. As long as you leave an Apple Podcast review, put your name or Instagram handle in the review, take a screenshot, email it to us at project or support at ProjectMeWithTiffany.com. Those simple instructions are right inside the show notes and in the description on YouTube. It takes 30 seconds. You might want to pause this episode, go do it, and then come back for my procrastinator ADHDers, because then you'll forget and then you'll be pissed at yourself. Or you can wait to buy it. It's up to you. But go do that. And then my birthday bonus sale for my ProjectME Posse business coaching membership, that is also ending soon. And I won't be having a sale for that membership for a long time. So you can get the annual option, which is like the best deal, or you can do month to month, because I know some of you are month to month peeps, and that's cool too. I have people who've been in there for years. There's a reason it's famous. And you get my $297 content creation made easy course bundle for free when you sign up. You don't have to type in a code. It's automatic at checkout. Now, by the time you're listening to this, there could be no spots left. So it'll say it on the page when you go to it, projectmewithtiffany.com/projectme posse in the show notes as well. You go there and it'll tell you if it's full. I keep this membership capped at an intimate size, so I can, in integrity, call it a group coaching membership, where you are getting your questions answered. You feel seen. You're not one of thousands of people in these memberships where you can hide and go off to Never Never Land. That doesn't work for someone like me. For me, I know what I have to do in order to get me to show up. And this is actually kind of a bonus rich person secret that just came up now. So I want to include it because it must have come up for a reason. All rich people, successful people, celebrities, all these people, even if they seem like they don't have fear, they have fear. Beyonce has fear. Oprah has fear. We all have fear. All of us do, because guess what we all have in common? We are human beings, all of us, with emotions, with hormones, with all sorts of ailments, neuroses, personalities. We all got that in common. Everyone poops, right? We all poop. Well, some of us poop more than others. I could, and some of us poop less. I wouldn't mind being on the poop brigade right now. I just got to say, I have a photo shoot coming up. All the people are arriving for my 2-day in-person Abundance League Business Mastermind coming from all over the world. So that is also why I'm broadcasting live from my bed, because we've got all sorts of things going on downstairs. We've got the air conditioning people in here because the air conditioning had an issue and we're not about that life. Then we got a million Amazon deliveries. Now we have furniture being moved. I have plants. I have everything you can imagine. And so I was like, we can't do this downstairs. We've got to just come up here and talk to the people. So we all have fear. I was terrified to do my first in-person event. I am not a party host. I don't have dinner parties. Due to the nature of the environment I grew up in, my home was pure fucking chaos. And so my house is my sanctuary. I'm very discerning and particular about who comes in my house, who stays at my house. Even when I have, like right now, I have contractors, I have people I'm paying in my house and they're helping me and they're lovely people. My nervous system is on heightened alert. It's just what happens. And I know that. So I have to make sure that I do things to keep my nervous system regulated. So when it comes to wanting ourselves to show up, where I was going with this is I was terrified to have an in-person event, but I wanted to have it. And I didn't want my fear to hold me back from doing something I want to do. Same with me, like having a book, which is why I'm putting out for the first time ever, aside from my programs where people pay me a lot of money to be in, I'm putting out a workbook, a guided course, because that's like a great stepping stone for my big book. Also have a fear around that. So I asked myself the question, what is going to get me to show up? Because it's something I want to do. I'm not trying to force myself to do something I don't want. It's something you want to do, you want to do, it'd be in the best interest of yourself and the greater good of all, but your fear has you in paralysis, your fear has you in procrastination, your fear is having you avoid and not do the things. Well, you could stay in that, but that's not going to feel good. So the question to ask yourself is, what can I do? How can I set it up that will get me to show up? Sometimes it has to even be the word force me to show up. What forced me to show up to do that first mastermind, that first in-person event? I had to publicly announce it because for myself, I'm not someone who's going to publicly announce something and then retract it. So it keeps me accountable. Before I even did that, though, I told people on my team what I wanted to do and was honest about, my fears, and asked for help and asked for extra support from a couple close people in my life who they have done in-person events, and told them my fears and the support that I would need. And then I just focused on the next step at hand. So I spent money on people helping me with it. I spent extra money. Okay, maybe more than even felt comfortable because I knew I wasn't going to waste that money or waste their time. I announced it publicly to all the people, to all you guys, because I'm not going to retract that because that's just not how I roll. I'm not going to. And then I looked for ways to feel excited about it. Fear is a form of excitement. There's negative excitement and there's like positive excitement, right? So we can spiral the fear, right, and keep leaning into the negative excitement part of it, but we can also lean into the positive excitement of it. Here's an example. Negative excitement would be, what if no one buys? What if no one shows up? People are really going to spend money to come to my event and then spend the time, energy, and money to fly and then stay in a hotel and come to be with me. And who the fuck do I think I am? I'm not a celebrity. Like, they would rather spend that money doing something else. And then what if something happens at my house? What if they don't like the food? What if that, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God. I mean, on and on with the crazy talk. That's me. That'd be me leaning into the negative excitement of it, which just creates anxiety, which creates illness, which creates fucking everything that we don't want to feel. Or I could consciously make the choice to not to disregard my feelings on that. We don't want to do that. Okay, I hear you, fear. I hear what you're afraid of. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk about the positive excitement. What are we excited about for this? Because you wouldn't be doing it, right? Like I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't want to do it. So there must be something exciting. I'm excited about the possibility. I'm excited to meet the people who I love helping on my podcast and virtually so much. And now I get to have that experience in person, which is only going to magnify the results. And then what could I do to make it more exciting? Well, I love swag. I love giving gift bags. And so I like got excited about what could be in the gift bag and what kind of cool luxury experiences can I give these people where it might even be like a once in a lifetime experience. And then I got excited about like what outfits I would wear for content and photos and stuff like that. And like signage, and do I want flowers, and what do I want for the decor? So I started getting really excited about that kind of stuff in a positive way. The other stuff was still there, but focusing on the positive excitement does diminish the other stuff. I also hired a coach specifically for who had done in-person events before, knowing that I would just want that support. Someone who I'm paying a good deal of money to be able to say, listen, straight up, like, how long do I need to promote this thing for? What's the deal when you're selling in-person tickets to something? So I've never done that in my life. So why would I want to guess? I want to know exactly what to do and what not to do and pay for it. Yeah, I might not make as much off that first event because I paid for the coach. I paid for some extra support. Of course, I went over the fucking top because that's what can happen with fear, especially if you're someone who's a recovering people pleaser, right? Like you overgive. So yes, I went over the top with stuff, but the payoff in the long run for event 2, event 3, event 4 is huge because I know how to do the thing. And I also saved money by not making mistakes I would have made if I hadn't hired someone who taught me how to do the thing. This is why you guys listen to me. This is why people come in my posse. This is why people work with me privately, right? Because I'm saving you time to get you your result faster, smoother, easier, with more fun and more joy and less headache. And you have to pay me, but you end up saving so much money because you're not wasting all of this time doing shit that is just kicking the can down the road with zero results. We want to set you up so that you can go through this upcoming season. We are right here, baby. We are coming into the most lucrative money-making season of the year. So even if you've made shit in your business or something you're not happy about, right? In the first, 3 quarters of the year, you can make up for all that and then some in the last quarter. You're not screwed. It's not too late. Do not write off the year. This is happening. And I really, really dive into this in my posse membership, where we do Black Friday, offer prep, all the thing. We go through all of it and make it where it's simple, because if it's not simple, you're not going to do it. So that was my bonus thing around rich people secrets when it comes to fear, is how can you like set yourself up so that you show up in spite of the fear? Otherwise, you'll just sit in fear and then not do the damn thing. Okay. I have notes for this. I'm always impressed with myself when I do notes. I have to do notes because when I get this combo of, I have a lot of like fear, excitement energy around everyone coming. And then I can tell it kind of ignites my complex PTSD to where like my short-term memory isn't that great. So there's post-it notes everywhere and they're very weird. I have one that just says cups on it. If like people came in here, they'd be like, okay, at some point, Tiffany lost her mind and she may have murdered someone. There's that many post-it notes. All right. The first thing that I do, truly, when I'm starting to go into fear about anything, and this is what I coach my people to do, is I want you to separate the facts from the feelings. What is actually true versus what feels true. And again, this is not negating how you feel about something. Whatever you feel, you perceive to be true, and therefore it is true, and therefore you act on it as though it's true, even if it's wildly false. This is a lot of the mindset and manifestation stuff I teach, right? Like we can really trick our minds and brainwash ourselves into believing anything. Most of you are lying to yourselves and brainwashing yourself and gaslighting yourself, not to your advantage. It's that to the fact that you can't do it. It's going to be hard. You don't have time. You don't have the money. This isn't going to work. This is never going to work. Why would anyone listen to me? People are going to think I'm stupid. Oh my God, I'm going to look like an idiot. You're already doing it, so you might as well do it to where it is to your advantage because you're already lying to yourself. So just tell a different lie. So I want you to separate facts from feelings. Here's the easiest way to do it. Let's say you have a fear of you really want to launch, like you want to launch something. You want to have a big launch for something. You want to have some big group coaching program or something like that. But you're afraid to put it out there because what if no one signs up? Or what if only a few people sign up, and how embarrassing? And then you're going to put in all this effort, time, and energy. And then there's only a couple people, and that's going to make you feel stupid. And you don't feel you have a big enough following yet, but then you also don't know how to grow your following. And why is anyone growing it? And then you get overwhelmed and go into paralysis. And then it's just easier to go into doom scrolling. And then you only feel worse. Sound familiar? Yes, I know your crazy brains. So ask yourself the question, is it absolutely true with 100% certainty that I'm going to launch this and no one's going to show up? No. Is it absolutely true with 100% certainty that no one's going to show up and they're never going to show up? No. Is it absolutely true with 100% certainty that if I don't do this and I don't follow through and I don't put this out there, that no one will show up? Yes, that is true. If you don't do it, no one will show up. So separate that, because you're coming up with something because your nervous system is simply trying to protect itself. It's trying, like, listen, Elon Musk didn't know that Tesla would be today what it is today. He had a knowing that it could be, and he was going to do everything in his power to make it be, but there was no guarantee. There are no guarantees. There's no guarantee of anything I launch that X many people are going to show up. But what I can guarantee is I'm going to do the best I can on any given day and show up fully for whomever shows up. And if it's 50 people that first time, great. Then the next time it's 65 people, then 75 people. The first time I did a live, 2 people showed up, and one of them was like a 90-day fiance person who like wanted me to donate to his ailing mother who didn't exist. You have to be willing to show up and do the thing, whether it's for one person or 50 people. And yeah, it does not feel good to our egos. It'd feel a lot better to have a guarantee. But if there was a guarantee, everyone in the planet would do it. You have to have the palate for being able to do it anyway, but also really discern the feelings from the facts, because those feelings, if you let them rule, you won't do anything. I literally would do it nothing. I would have never had an in-person event if I just kept with those feelings and didn't discern from the facts. Okay. Next thing. If it's hysterical, it's historical. And what I mean by that, if you are really spinning, if you are spiraling about something, there is a historical nature. Something is going on with this person, place, thing, situation that is triggering you and your nervous system from childhood or from some other relationship or traumatic experience that you've had before. Really weird example, but I'm going to go with it because it came to me from my ass. When I get asked to speak at events that are, excuse me, very boss baby, as I call them, very girl bossy, lots of Polly the influencer people are there, where everyone is like perfectly coiffed, I think you guys know what I'm talking about. It's like everyone has them in different industries, right? Like I'm sure there's certain networking events you've gone to where it's everyone is like showing up the next person, or everyone's dressed a certain way, or I'm not into it, okay? I'm into having a lot of fun and showing up exactly as I am. And I think it's fun to dress up. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying just outward appearances. I just like a little more grit and depth to things, I guess is all I'm saying. So when I even am going to speak at events like this, I notice I get a lot of anticipatory anxiety and even dread. And it's not because I don't want to speak for the event, because I wouldn't have said yes. And it's not because I don't want to genuinely show up with heart and be of service. It's because, I mean, I've even gotten like sick to my stomach. And it's not because I'm nervous about speaking, because I actually don't get that. It's because it reminds me of middle school. It reminds me of there was the popular girl table. My school is fucking really weird. I mean, I don't think it's that abnormal, but there were a lot of segregations in the tables. There was like the rich people table, the popular girl table, popular guy table, the athlete table, the weirdo table. There was even the Christian table, because I grew up in North Shore, Chicago, which was like mostly all Jewish. Shout out my Jews. I'm not a Jew, but I'm told I'm allowed to be Jew adjacent. And so like I didn't want to sit I didn't want to sit at the Christian table. These people were far too innocent for me. But like I didn't have a table. Like I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. Cause then there was like the nerd table. I mean, I really hope there's been some changes in school with that, but I doubt it. I didn't feel I really fit in at any table. And I knew that. And I hated that feeling. And of course, as a kid, I made it where it was like there was something defective and wrong about me. I always knew I thought differently than people. I got kicked out of, my mom put me in, which is really weird if you know my mom's story, but my mom put me in Sunday school and I got kicked out for asking too many questions. It was disruptive. So I knew I always thought differently, saw things differently. I didn't like the same basic shit that people liked. I was also being savagely abused at home. So I'm sure there was that too. And it would bring me back to that. And so when I did this assessment of, this is kind of hysterical, meaning my fear response to this thing seems like it doesn't make sense. It seems very exaggerated. It's not just because like I'm a highly sensitive person. It's not because I'm being dramatic. It's not because I didn't get enough sleep. It's because it mimics what happened and how I felt walking into the lunchroom every fucking time in middle school. So then once we know that and we take just a moment to do that assessment, it only takes a few minutes. Then I can talk to my inner child. I can talk to that 12-year-old me and say, you don't have to fit in anywhere. You're a child of God. You fit in because you're here on this earth. You don't need to look like everyone else. You don't need to talk like everyone else. You're here speaking because you're not like everyone else. And you don't need all these people's approval to be okay. You're perfect just as you are. And having that beautiful conversation. So maybe it's that you're afraid of putting yourself out on video. Maybe you're afraid of starting a podcast. Maybe you're afraid of sharing more vulnerability and more behind the scenes of your business. Maybe you're afraid of making an investment and really going all in on your business and you've kind of been fucking toe dipping and playing it safe and you have that fear. Just do an assessment of, what is this bringing up from other times in my life? Like with my book, and I'm just using myself as an example so it can help kind of prompt things for you. It's not because I want to sit here and fucking talk about myself for hours. It's 11:11, by the way. 11:11. All good things happen to us for the greater good of all, for simply being us. Yeah, no one would ever hire me for singing. I'm well aware of that. I got bullied for my voice and how I pronounce certain things, and now I make millions of dollars podcasting. So yeah, it did take me 10 years to start my podcast. There were all sorts of shit that was going on in my head. And that's why I'm doing this series for you also, because what do rich people do? What do successful people do? We don't let the fear run the show. We navigate it. The real main reason why I didn't start this show, it wasn't because I know how to talk, right? I know how to talk. I know how to interview. I went to fucking college for it. Not that you have to, but I'm a professionally trained journalist. It all was about the historical reference. And we have to give ourselves grace instead of doing, oh, do it anyway, show up anyway. Da, da, da. No, fucking listen to that little person in you. Listen to the 22-year-old you where some asshole you fucking dated said some bullshit to you. Listen to the 30-year-old version of you who had an abusive boss that made you feel like you couldn't do it. I had I don't know what we want to call him. I guess we'll call him a mentor of mine. Tell me that when I was at like, I would say the peak of my corporate career, I was making, I don't know, 350 to 375. So 350 to $375,000 a year. That's a lot of money in the corporate world. That's great money, period. And he told me on multiple occasions that I was being delusional and there's no way that I would make this. There's no way I would make this like on my own, like doing my own thing. There's no way. That's like crazy to think that. And this is someone I wildly respected. And so sometimes that kind of stuff even comes up, and that happened in my adult life. So I want you to make an assessment of that with grace. Next thing, cost factor. Most people will sit there and evaluate how much something is going to cost them. This is going to take so much time. This is going to be so much hard work. This is going to cost so much money to do this. What rich people do is we look at what it's going to cost us not to do it. What is the cost going to be emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually to continue to not prioritize this, to push this off, to not do this thing? Because that cost factor is much higher. What's the regret cost factor? So if you are sitting there and kind of half dipping, half going in on your business, it's still jobby status. Maybe you've made some money, but like not the level of money to get you to the life-changing cash, but like enough to where you're like, okay, like, yeah, this is great, but it's not like really giving me the full freedom and options. You're holding yourself back. You're holding yourself back because you're going, well, to go to the next level, it's going to be like you have this belief that you've really cemented in on that you're going to have to trade time with your family. You're going to have to trade your personal time. It's going to be so much energy. It's going to be so much effort. It's going to be so much risk. It's going to be so much money. And then what if it doesn't work? And then I'm back at square one and I'm already so tired and blah, blah, blah. Again, don't negate those feelings that your ego trying to protect you. Okay. So you want to acknowledge it. I hear you. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate you sharing your point. Just like if a kid is spiraling and sharing their feelings, I really hope you would allow them to share their feelings and let them be heard. So let yourself be heard because most of us weren't heard in childhood. So it feels really good to be heard and we have to reparent ourselves and hear ourselves and can't expect someone else in our life to do it. We have to do it for ourselves first. I mean, obviously, I have a therapist and a psychiatrist and 2 coaches, so that also helps. Actually, I have 3 coaches technically now. It's very important I get heard and be understood too. Don't just hear yourself, give yourself understanding and compassion. And then go, okay, let's look at the other side. What is it costing us to not do this? So I had a client come to me and she is doing better than she ever has in her life. So she's making probably like $300,000 in her business, that's great. That's wonderful. Great job, right? Like far cry from where she was at. But she knows how much further she could get. She's in a type of company where it's not network marketing, but she's in a type of company where there's like different levels and things like that. And she knows she has what it takes, but she continues to hold herself back and she didn't know why. And at a certain point, she realized it was the law of diminishing returns. Her sitting there and continuing to chew and wonder why she's procrastinating and why she's not showing up and why she's not following through and why she's staying in her comfort zone, even though she wants all these other things on the other side of it. She took an action. I can't continue to stay in this and spin my wheels. She applied for my 2-month private coaching program. She was a great fit because I was like, you already have what it takes. You already have it in you. It's the getting out of the stuck spot you're in and how to do it, the actual real steps. Like you don't need me to pay. You don't need to pay me for me to be your cheerleader. Yeah, that's a byproduct of what you get, but you don't need to pay me for that. You're paying me to help you uncover what is blocking you and how to manage it and work through it. The accountability to show up, because you work with me, you're going to show up and do it. And the third is the actual real steps of how to cut out all the noise so you can do it effectively and efficiently. I've built all this working part-time. And like I said, I'm someone in the first part of the series, I was very clear about like, I'm not someone with energy boosting out of my ass. I did not know one other person in this space. I'm not someone who's an extrovert who goes out and networks constantly. I don't have any special hookups with people like that I have some big influencer shouting me out. None of it. In fact, the opposite. It seems the more successful I get, a lot of these, so to speak, influential people seem to not ask me to speak at their events and not have me on their show. It's really bizarre. I was like, this must be where that saying is, it can be lonely at the top. It's really interesting. I could go off on a whole thing about that. But the cost factor of this client of mine continuing to not do anything, ask yourself that. Type it in the comments on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. What is the cost factor of not doing it, of continuing to deprioritize this thing? Her cost factor is she would never be able to get the dream house. She wouldn't be able to create the legacy and the foundation she wanted to for her kids. She knew this kids learn by example, and that's not a great example. She has some other things planned on her dream list she really wants, and that wasn't going to happen. And it also wasn't feeling good, even spiritually with herself and emotionally with herself, to continue to hold herself back. That's a very exhausting, not fun place to be. So she took an action and got help. So sometimes your first action is to get help and to hire guidance, which you have the option of my ProjectME Posse business coaching membership as well. And that's only $3.33 a day. You're listening to this podcast. You wouldn't be on here if you didn't want to be somewhere else, if you didn't want to keep evolving, if you didn't want more for yourself, if you didn't want to keep growing, you wouldn't even be attracted to this sort of content. So what is it costing you? And you might find that the answer is like, oh, it's really not costing you anything. Then maybe that is not a priority goal of yours right now. It was costing me so much to not put out any form of like a book type content, because I know the book I have in me. I'm sure there's many more, but there's one book that has to be written for the greater good of all. There's very few people in this world who've gone through the level of abuse I have, that have gone through the level of healing, that have the capability to be able to discuss it and hold space for other sexual abuse survivors. And I hold that space, and I've done a lot of work to be able to hold it. And I know the few books I've read in my journey of other people who were able to tell their stories and hold that space saved my fucking life. And I want to pay that forward. But I started this book in 2020 in the pandemic, and I couldn't finish it. I was just stuck. But rich people And when I say rich, I'm like doing a fun play on words. I don't just mean rich monetarily, rich in all sorts of areas of their lives. I I wasn't going to allow that to be the thing because it was costing me. I wasn't feeling good about myself by putting it out there. I was feeling guilt. I was wasting a lot of time and energy, even thinking about it, even talking about it. If we want to look at it monetarily, without a doubt, that would not only make me a ton of money, but it'd help other people make a lot of money. So I looked at what can I do? I'm giving examples of, all the secrets today. What can I do to set myself up so I will follow through? Like I can't not follow through. And that's where the workbook was born. Even though it's not the book, the workbook is still a body of writing that people are going to read and benefit from, and it's going to be executed and put out there. And so then I went, you know what? How about I proclaim it and I put it out there, and I even do a special gift giveaway for it. As you guys know, that's going on with the podcast. And if you don't know, you can write a 5-star Apple Podcast review of the show, leave your name or Instagram, TikTok handle in the review, take a screenshot, email us at support@projectmewithtiffany.com. All those simple instructions are right in the show notes. And I will send you my Work Less While Making More guided workbook course for free before it goes on sale to the public. And that felt really good to me, to be of service, to give a gift. It felt fun to do a fun gift giveaway for the podcast. It got me excited. The more I talked about it, the more I got into positive excitement versus negative excitement about it. And therefore any of my writing blocks and creativity blocks were removed. I have a really big photo shoot tomorrow that I'm doing, and one of the shots that we're getting is for the cover of the workbook. And so I got excited by picking like the outfit and getting creative for it and all of those things. So that's an example of using all the things I just said here. And now what's going to happen? And when you know something's going to happen, it just shifts your energy into the abundance zone. From being, you're in that fear zone, no movement happens from there. And that can go on for years. Like I said, it took me 10 years to start this fucking podcast in the Business Coaching Academy because I was stuck in the fear of it. That's not what rich people do. Okay. Rich people get into movement. And the final thing is deregulating your nervous system. Your nervous system is going to get revved up constantly when you're going after new things, any form of new goals, anything. It's just going to get revved up because we read unfamiliar as uncomfortable, and our nervous system can read that as dangerous, whether you've had a dysfunctional childhood or not. It's just going to read that way. So you need to consciously be looking for ways every day to calm and soothe, like, and ignite that parasympathetic nervous system. So it can be as simple as, if you're someone who's into working out like me, I do 2 forms of workouts. One, like a high energy, like a high output weightlifting workout. That actually helps my nervous system because it helps get out a lot of that anxiety and any anger I have. But then I also pair that with doing yoga, a lot of breathing, a lot of stretching, a lot of slow movements. I take my abundance walks, which those are free. I think those are in the show notes, but they're for sure my link in bio on Instagram and TikTok. Go do an abundance walk, take a bath, take a shower, I'll do legs up while writing an email to you guys. So just putting your legs up the wall. And I got one of those lavender neck wraps, and you can get them on Amazon. They're not expensive. And I put that on my neck at night. And that, I love lavender. I love using oils. I talk to my plants. I'm really into using facial oils for my skin. So even massaging those into my skin. So there's little things that don't really take up much more time in your day to keep soothing our nervous systems, because they're being ignited all day long, whether it's on a I don't watch any stressful things, by the way, on TV shows. Even though I love reality TV, I will fast forward or turn it off. If it's all fighting, because that can ignite my nervous system. That doesn't mean I'm just watching like the Care Bears, but I need to watch like benign type things, which is probably why I like any of the travel food shows. The HGTV network is a very safe network. So playing with your animals. And again, your mic going, oh my God, these are rich people's best kept secrets. It's the stack of the cash is in the simple stuff. It really is simple. It's just you may not have thought about it, or you may have even heard about it and you've never prioritized it. And I'm not including a bunch of other things on purpose. Not to say there aren't some other things. I'm including the essentials in the series that you do this and nothing else and forget the rest. Your life will absolutely change and the abundance will flow in. I have zero doubts about it. But you have to be committed to actually doing that. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. And excited to hear if you're loving the series. So you can take a screenshot of the episode, share it on social media, and tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany. Go leave your review right now so you don't forget, which a lot of you probably already forgot. So that's why I just reminded you again, so you can get my guided workbook course that is going to be not just so helpful and get you results, but I've made sure it's going to be fun to do. Like picture an adult activity book. They have children activity books. Picture an adult activity book. Because why? The more fun we have, the more money we make.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.